Alright, so this one's going to be a bit heavy, a bit more of a serious topic that we're going over today, so I'll have some trigger warnings up on the screen right now, just so you're aware. This has to do with the recent Activision Blizzard allegations that came out recently, so let's get into it. This week, Activision Blizzard was hit with a lawsuit from the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, or DFEH for short, for violations of California's Equal Pay Act as well as the Fair Employment and Housing Act. And if you're like me, if you've never heard of the DFEH before, a quick summary. According to Legal Match, the DFEH is a state government agency that is responsible for protecting residents from unlawful discrimination in the employment, public accommodations, and housing sectors. They also address crimes involving hate violence and human trafficking, so these guys are pretty serious. As this particular case goes, the lawsuit comes from Activision Blizzard's inequality in the workplace and in monetary compensation. To quote the document from the DFEH directly, Activision Blizzard, quote, allegedly fostered a sexist culture and paid women less than men despite women doing substantially similar work, assigned women to lower level jobs and promoted them at slower rates than men, and fired or forced women to quit at higher frequencies than men. DFEH also alleges that African American women and other women of color were particularly impacted by Activision Blizzard's discriminatory practices. End quote. Several publications ran stories regarding this already, among them being Kotaku, which I'll have a link to in the description below for your reference. Some examples via excerpts from the core document they shared are as follows, quote, in the office, women are subjected to cube crawls in which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior toward female employees. Male employees proudly come into work hungover, play video games for long periods of time during work while delegating their responsibilities to female employees, engage in banter about their sexual encounters, talk openly about female bodies, and joke about rape. Female employees are subjected to constant sexual harassment, including having to continually fend off unwanted sexual comments and advances by their male coworkers and supervisors, while being groped at the cube crawls and other company events. High-ranking executives and creators engaged in blatant sexual harassment without repercussions. In a particularly tragic example, a female employee committed suicide during a business trip with a male supervisor who had brought butt plugs and lubricant with him on the trip, end quote. So this is some pretty serious shit, if you have not noticed already. Other examples given include supervisors ignoring medical restrictions given to female employees and gave them negative evaluations while they were out on maternity leave, and how an African American employee noted that it took her 2 years to be made into a permanent employee, while men hired after her were made permanent employees, presumably much faster. This kind of toxic frat boy work environment is the kind of shit that makes not only the gaming industry look like fucking shit, but any corporate environment exhibiting and encouraging this kind of behavior as well. I especially hate to see it in the gaming industry where myself and many others support. We love the games and we want to support them, big or small, but when this kind of news breaks out, it cannot be justified. There's no fucking way. It's also said that the DFEH investigated Activision Blizzard for 2 years and even attempted to handle this internally with them prior to reaching litigation stages. I forgot this until I started working on this story that 2 years ago was also around the time that Activision Blizzard fired 800 employees in one go in early 2019 after an earnings call that claimed they had a record year in 2018. Whether this recent suit has anything to do with that, the mass firings from 2019 is really just conjecture on my part, but it could have been some kind of catalyst for this investigation. I'll have a Polygon article in the description going over the details of that 29 story in case you wanted to check it out. This whole thing made waves across social media over the last few days and even reached a point where WoW players gathered in-game to protest. PC Gamer reports that players are protesting in the city of Oribos, either silently sitting on the steps of the inn or conversing amongst themselves about the lawsuit, some discussing the issue on the WoW forums, or even calling out individuals like, I hope I get this right, Alex Afraisiabi, who quietly and suddenly departed Blizzard in 2020. With the recent news coming to light, it appears that his departure rings a little differently now. The PC Gamer article also mentions that a WoW subreddit reader count text which Reddit moderators can modify currently reads 2,150,693 fed up with Blizzard and 19,279 subs lost every minute. Assuming these numbers are accurate, this can definitely affect Activision Blizzard financially, which we all know CEO Bobby Kotick is all about the bottom line. The only thing I fear out of this financial protest is that the ones affected by it will be the employees that have been most affected by the atrocious behavior reported by this DFEH lawsuit. Despite all of this, Activision Blizzard released a statement in response to the DFEH claims, which you can find in the Kotaku article. It's a bit of a longer read, but the main takeaway from their response is that they do not claim any responsibility for the examples given in the DFEH suit, or it's what it looks like. They claim to value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity for everyone. Yeah, I bet your female workforce feels very included in those fucking cube crawls, you pieces of shit. Now this part of their response really gets me. Quote, the DFEH includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative with the DFEH throughout their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refused to inform us what issues they perceived. They were required by law to adequately investigate and have good faith discussions with us to better understand and to resolve any claims or concerns before going to litigation, but they failed to do so. Instead, they rushed to file an inaccurate complaint, as we will demonstrate in court. End quote. First of all, they constantly use Blizzard, not Activision Blizzard, or anything that includes Activision, like they're trying to distance the Activision name from these accusations. The company merged back in 2008. You're not fooling anybody with that. Second, they say they worked with the DFEH on this, which I can't say for sure if they did or didn't, but from all the hearsay, it sounds like the DFEH tried to square this shit away with Activision Blizzard prior to moving forward with litigation, so that point kind of falls flat. Thirdly, they say the DFEH rushed to file an inaccurate complaint that they will demonstrate in court. Assuming that these accusations are true, which honestly it sounds like they are, this is not going to go over well for Activision Blizzard. With all this being said, these are still allegations and I am still a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. Though, keep in mind, this isn't an individual or a small group of individuals taking to Twitter to out the bad apples. This is coming from a state government agency. That by itself gives this whole situation more weight and credibility than any kind of cancel culture post. Whatever comes out of this, I hope it's more than just a slap on the wrist in the form of a fine. Usually I end this with the usual YouTube bullshit, but honestly, just keep your eyes on this story, guys. If anything, an example needs to be made. After similar allegations came out about Riot Games and shit, even Ubisoft had their own scandal. And now Activision Blizzard? This is starting to look more and more like it's the norm than it is a rarity. If we can get examples made out of this case, I would hope to see this kind of culture in the workplace fucking die. Anyways, that's all I have for the video. You guys take care.